Hi there. The other day I tweeted, instead of letting the wave of emotions hit you, learn to ride it, master it, and command its flow. And I'm quite aware that controlling your emotions, mastering them, is such a difficult thing to do. Usually they overwhelm you. They're like a river or an ocean, and you're drowning deep in it. And the water is those emotions that you feel. Now, when you are there and you're immersed in them, it's as if they are engulfing you completely. When you're feeling happy, sad, angry, anxious, depressed, or any other feeling, you're so engulfed by them, deeply immersed in them, that you cannot control anything else. You are in them, and in a way, they embody you. You're angry, you cannot think anything else. You are being the anger. When you are happy, and that's a beautiful thing, it's good to be happy, you usually do not think, happiness is this outside thing, I'm not happy. No, you really are happy. It's embodying you. When you're sad, it's the same thing. When you're depressed, it's like a black body that just covered you entirely, and you cannot help yourself. You cannot escape it. It really drains your energy. And it's the same thing when you are, let's say, when you are anxious and anxiety just takes over you. You cannot do anything about it. Now, when I said instead of letting the wave of emotions hit you, learn to ride it, master it, and command its flow, it's because I truly believe, to an extent, you can control your emotions. You can be their master. And that begs the question, how? How do I learn to master them and ride them? Well, one way of doing that is by trying to look at it at a broader sense, by visualizing yourself as an outside entity to who you are, and being aware that, hey, right now I am feeling this way, but I will view it from an outsider perspective. I will look at how this emotion is influencing me, and I will add a task in the back of my head, in my thought cabinet. I will add a task and aim to pay attention to how this emotion is affecting me, and I will decide to challenge how I feel and not let it control me as much as I would control it. So play tests with yourself and with the way you feel. Aim to overcome their influence on you, and this is the beautiful part, let them serve you. Let's say you're feeling angry or you're feeling frustrated or whichever emotion it is, learn to let that energy, because I do believe emotions are energies, let that energy be in your service, rather letting it become your master and you its servant. So when you're feeling angry, for example, think about it. And I know it's difficult. You're already inside this turbulence. You're already engulfed by all of that anger. It's like a fire. You're inside the fire. It's not easy to control that. But add the task in your thoughts and decide, hey, I can control how this feels. I can control all of this anger. And I can decide that this anger will serve me instead of hurt me. Because here's the thing, if you allow it to control you and engulf you and set you on fire, it's gonna hurt you. Usually it will make you do things you don't want to do, think thoughts you don't want to think, and feel feelings you do not want to feel. And you'll be like a puppet. It controls you. So I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, especially with strong emotions like, feeling so depressed, feeling so low, feeling like none of it matters. What's the point? You cannot control those. They're too powerful. But with practice, with pushing and pulling, it's like working out a muscle. And I know that's a cliche. Everything seems to be like working out a muscle, but bear with me. With practice, you will fail, but you will make progress in getting better and getting better at controlling your emotions and getting better at not being weak in front of them. And here's the thing. When I say it that way, it makes it seem, and I think it might not be the case, but I will tell you, it makes it seem like you're gonna be numb, emotionless, and you will just be an outsider who doesn't really feel things. They just pass by and you're like observing them and controlling them. It feels stale and empty and numb. However, it isn't that. No, it's feeling those emotions, but not succumbing to how they control you. Rather, think of it this way. You're aware and you decide. Do you immerse yourself in the water, the river, the sea of emotions, or do you ride them? So, for example, when you're feeling depressed, for example, and I know that's not a choice, you don't always decide, hey, I'm feeling depressed, yay. No, but when you're feeling that way, you can utilize it. And let's say you allow those negative feelings to help you create something beautiful, create art, or maybe decide, hey, I don't feel like going out. I don't feel like making my room. I don't feel like cleaning myself. But I will observe how I feel when I push myself. And it's as if you are holding yourself and pushing yourself to go and get outside, get some sunlight, or to pull yourself and just lay down under the shower and clean yourself and observe how you feel when those emotions are there and you are behaving this way. Now, there are many other examples that I can think of. Let's see. When you're angry, now you can give in to the anger and break things around you and yell and scream and have a vein pop up in your forehead. One of the examples I can think of is when you encounter someone. It could be someone from work or someone who you have absolutely no connection with. They just happen to be in public and you are there in public and they say something or do something and it ticks you off. Sure, other examples could be someone whom you have a personal relationship to, someone who you know, who personally you are connected to. And it isn't easier to control those, especially more so than when it's a stranger, but let me tackle them one by one. When it's a stranger or someone who you just happen to come across in public, and had you not been there, had you been late by 1-2 minutes, you probably would not have ever met that person. Now, always remind yourself that what happens with a stranger is not personal. Meaning, and this is something that I know some of my friends have dealt with. You could be in public and you see someone who's damaging property or tossing trash into the road, or they're being a very terrible person publicly. You can act out. You can go and tell them, hey, don't do that. Or maybe you could be a saint, an angel, and you go pick up the trash and put it in its place. However, whatever you do, remind yourself that this isn't personal. And also keep in mind that if that attitude and that behavior bothered you, you do realize that this is the kind of thing that might be happening right now, even at the time that I'm recording this video or podcast. Even at the time that you're watching this right now, such a behavior is probably happening outside. Someone is just tossing trash or bothering someone else who isn't you, or they're being a menace, or maybe they're shooting a prank and doing a prank where they are being an inconvenience to people in public. Remind yourself that those things are not personal and they do not deserve to get such a rise out of you. And sure, you want to act out, you want to raise awareness, you want to do something about it. And if it's happening in front of you or to you, sometimes maybe someone just comes to you and they're like, hey, I want to be a jerk and I want to bother you. If it's a stranger, keep in mind in the back of your head that, hey, this isn't personal. This person doesn't even know who I am. They probably would bother me, even bother whoever is here. Even if I was replaced with someone else, they will still do the same thing. So why would I take it personally? Moving on to personal situations where something bothers you, whether it's making you sad or angry, and it is personal, it isn't easy at all to assess the situation and be reasonable and detach the action you should do or the things that you should say from the way you feel inside. However, it's interesting to try to navigate it that way, to try to think about it. Why is this making me sad? Why is this making me angry? To observe how you feel even as you are feeling it. Hey, I'm feeling this way because someone at work, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's someone in your family, or someone who is a friend of yours and they did something or they are doing things that are bothering you and they're making you feel this way. Observe how it's making you feel and observe what you can do about it and act out and see how it happens. Life is an adventure in a way. Life is an interesting experience. And the more you can not let it, I'm trying to, if you're listening to this and not watching, I'm using my hands and representing one hand as if it's you and the other hand is your emotions, and they're wrestling. One of them is trying to get on top of the other one and control its movement. You can decide, or try at least, to wrestle with these emotions and understand them and see how it happens or how it goes if you are the one in control. Now, again, I already said this. It isn't easy and it might take practice and you might fail several times. However, hopefully you don't have to repeat it all the time. Hopefully you're not living in a circumstance where you're angry all the time, or you're living in an environment that's making you sad or depressed. However, especially if you are living in such circumstances where your anger is always coming back, you're dealing with an anger issue somehow, or you're feeling sad and depressed or not feeling good about yourself and you feel maybe, worthless, you don't feel appreciated. This is especially for you to help you navigate through these things. What will awareness and learning to deal with your emotions, what will it do to help you? Let's talk about the benefits and the motive that will hopefully encourage you to actually do such a thing. What will it do to you? I believe it will help you better the environment, help you better yourself, help you become able to deal with the environment and to be in control of your feelings and to be aware that, hey, there are things that I cannot control, but I can control my behavior and my attitude, and I can choose to face them without them taking over me, because that's one of the difficulties you have to deal with. If it's something that's intimidating you or making you angry or making you feel bad, facing it sometimes, which is necessary sometimes, facing it will be very difficult, very overwhelming sometimes. It will help you to face them and be in control. It's as if a gust of wind is pushing against you and you're not moved or blown away by it. You're unfazed. So it helps you to deal with it like that. I am aware that this advice is not something that you can easily just decide to do. It's difficult. However, I encourage you and I support you in doing this, in going through with this. And yeah, let me know what you think. If you would like me to address this subject more deeply, If you would like to see more content that talks about this and the difficulties of dealing with your feelings and the environment that affects the way you feel, let me know and I'll gladly talk more about it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.